All right, I got the finger gun, so we're ready to go. Welcome to another edition of the Designated Players Podcast. We're here with a handful of contributors to the Mount Royal Soccer blog on SB Nation. I've got Alexi.
Hi.
Javier.
What's going on, Matt?
Noah.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad.
And Ronnie. And I'm Matthew. It's nice to meet you all. This podcast is brought to you by, this is Brandy. Some peach schnapps and orange juice, not a bad mix. You guys can join in if you like when you listen to this. We've got the end of the season to look forward to, but before we do, we participated in a fantastic tournament a couple weeks ago with some of our buddies at KanFC in Khodputsin. It took place at Soccer 5 in Hochelaga Maisonneuve. A couple of guys here were present. There were a couple of injuries. There definitely were no wins. Noah, did you have to take your, your inhaler or anything like that? How are you feeling?
I guess I should invest in one. There's a lot of coughing initially, but looking back now, I think it all went really well. But in the moment, it was horrible. I scored a goal, so that's all I can take away from the whole.
That's true. That is very true.
Can I say this? I scored the goal. And people were like, "Good one," and I was like, "Just take me off, take me off, please." So that's my fondest memory of the tournament.
Yeah, Alexi, how about you? How do you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, first it was a nice goal. No, first goal, open up the scoring, break the ice. Thank you very much. No, it was a great tournament. I luckily escaped without asthma attacks or other facial injuries, as Matt will get to. No, I had a great time, and it was just a nice experience put on by KanFC, and it was nice to meet the other writers about soccer in Montreal.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
honestly, it was like a flattering thing also to walk in and register, and then people were like, hey, you guys write for Mount Royal Soccer, and there was actually people there who read our articles, which was really fascinating.
Yeah.
That is,
What Alexi is alluding to is, of course, I was playing keeper after Alexi, of course, backed out of the last two games, basically.
Not us two.
Sorry, we jumped it. We rotated. But I got hit in the face, knocked out, a facial piercing, blood everywhere. It was pretty ugly, but I made the save.
Yeah, and then we got to spend the next 5 minutes looking for his nosing, which was really a nice way to start the game.
Look, I'm just saying, whenever you lose facial jewelry, you will yell at whoever is around to help you out find that thing, because that was in AstroTurf, man. AstroTurf. Not easy. Not easy.
I actually remember that I was still looking for like a contact, and everyone's like, dude, you already found it. I was like on the ground searching for it. Oh my God, you got it.
Honestly, by that time I was already like debating in my head whether or not I should quit and go home or finish the actual last minute of the game, which we did. But anyways, it was a close match. We lost against the Khodputsin guys, but they ended up winning the tournament. So
yeah, we had a good game.
Yeah, we had a good game. All right, so how about we move on to some of the topics going on this week?
Sure.
We had a lot of coaching changes in different leagues on the international level. We had an announcement today about the coach for Atlanta FC, the new team that's going to be in the MLS next year. It's Gerardo Mastino?
Tata Martino.
Martino, and that's Tata, right? And he used to coach for Barcelona. Out of what I understand, he had some success on the European stage. Javier, do you know anything about that?
I mean, from what I could speak to, I know he coached Barcelona for a little less than a year. It wasn't the greatest of stretches for him in that year. He was coming off of not only Pep's reign as coach of Barcelona, but also the death of another manager. I forget, the name escapes me right now. So it was a very difficult time for the club in terms of the players and in terms of the fans and the supporters. And he just it was probably one of the worst Barcelona years in the last decade, I guess you can say. So his time at Barcelona was tumultuous, but I mean, he is a high-profile coach coming to MLS, which is always a good thing.
Yeah, well, I mean, thanks for helping us out with the positive news there, because that was definitely not the best backup for his skill set and stuff like that. But it is always nice to see coaches with European pedigree coming to the MLS. Noah, do you have something to add about that too?
I think he was mostly in Argentina for many, many years. He's also an ex-player as well. And he also coached the Paraguayan national team, I believe, for I think about 5 years. And recently he was the coach of the Argentinian team. So he does have quite the pedigree. And yeah, I think it's a pretty exciting move for Atlanta. And yeah, I have to say that it's the kind of thing that I think any team would want, and it's the kind of move that I think a lot of people have been wanting to see more of. Like seeing some more high-profile coaches come into the MLS. So yeah.
I think it's a really good point, though, not just on the coaching front, but Atlanta FC. I mean, Atlanta is probably one of the largest cities without an MLS franchise yet, right? There's got to be some sort of an attraction that they're trying to play on here by bringing in
22,000 season tickets sold already.
Yeah, exactly, which is an incredible success. But it's a big city, which tends to attract that international talent. If you're looking at anytime you see an interview with a guy who mentions that he's interested in going to the MLS at some point in his career, what do they say? New York, LA. That's almost about it. They don't even pick the supporters' favorites, which would be like Portland or Seattle, etc. And they want to go to the big cities. So bringing in a coach with some talent like that probably is going to attract a couple players, right?
Yeah, and they already have a base with I believe Carlos Bocanegra is the technical director, and they already have signed a DP Jones from Trinidad and Tobago. He used to play in the Premiership. I can't remember his name. Kenman Jones. So
right.
They have a base, and they're already talking about they have like a philosophy that they feel that Tata fits well into. So. Like they're getting their ducks in a row pretty quickly, and
with that beautiful crest as well, right?
Yeah, no, it seems like they got their their stuff together, and yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, I think we all are, and I mean, it's been one of those storylines from this season that everything seems to be going without too much drama, which is kind of fascinating for a new MLS franchise. So it's pretty good. But other coaching changes. So, of course, there was the big news today that in the UK, the Telegraph released an investigative report on some sort of sneaky behavior that's going on the international level with the England men's national team. And so Sam Allardyce is at the center of this fiasco and seemingly has lost his job today, which, I mean, he coached one game. He now has a international coaching career that has not lasted as long as a Kardashian marriage. Noah, what do you think about all this, considering all these closer?
I mean, for starters, I don't think anyone really was excited that he was the new coach of England, and it's kind of sad that he's kind of gone out this way. I mean, he hadn't done anything wrong so far. He won his first game in world qualifying for the World Cup. So, but it just sort of just speaks more to just England in general on the world stage. They just seem to never get anything right. They always seem to pick the wrong coach, or the team underplays. So it's just like just another notch in the belt for sort of failure on their end.
Well, of course. I mean, is there a possibility that all of a sudden he jumps back and goes to Sunderland at Christmas or something like that, and then saves them again from the bottom?
I mean, there's a few coaches in the EPL that are, I think, fairly close to firing their coaches. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he's back at a Sunderland, who are currently in last place in the EPL. Stoke, there's a bunch of teams out there who probably could use a new coach. So he may not be unemployed very long, but it sounded like he was super stoked to of the national team. So yeah, we'll see.
Well, we'll see. I mean, just for anybody who has not followed up, you can look it up. There's a Telegraph, a long Telegraph article that expands more on the investigation that they were doing. Basically, he was overheard and recorded talking about ways in which they could bypass the different transfer rules for players, and which, of course, is a big no-no. Sorry, Noah, go ahead.
I'll just read it. It's
yeah, of course.
Showed him negotiating a fee of £400,000 to represent an overseas firm that was hoping to profit from Premier League transfers before he'd even named his first squad for the British team, English team. So, sounds kind of sketchy.
Yeah, sounds kind of sketchy. Anyway, how about another, at least a positive change, because definitely England is was hoping that Allardyce would start a new positive wave in the England national team. We had a change on the Canadian men's national team as well. We got rid of Benito Floro. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now since the news came out, that this is, first of all, a fantastic decision that probably overstayed his welcome a little bit. Never really showed any success. His decisions in game were always questioned. His lineup selection was always questioned. And we now have a guy, an interim coach in there by the name of Michael Finley. But what do you guys think to the future of the men's national team with these changes? This is positive, right? This is hopeful. What do you think, Alexi?
Well, getting rid of Flo wasn't really a choice. He had been here for what? Was it 4 years?
Yeah.
And we hadn't qualified for the Hex. We hadn't made any moves forward. And he was a big-name coach. Like, as this Atlanta United guy, Gerardo Martino, he had also coached Barcelona. He had some success on the international scene. And he comes into Canada and we're all like, finally, a big-name coach. He's going to sort things out, a nice, stable team, and we're going to be able to finally move forward, progress, bring up young players. And that's not what's happened. He's played the older players. We have talented young Canadians, but we haven't seen them play. And just the Canadian team has lacked success. And as you said, Matt, some of his decisions have been questioned. He's had, for some reason, this desire to pull off strikers when we're down a goal, to put on a less talented striker, which I just don't understand. And his decisions, yeah, they've always been second-guessed. And he doesn't look like he had much backing from the players. I just didn't see much emotion when he left. I think found him to be.
I totally agree with you. And I mean, we've had this conversation for the past year and a half, at least, while looking at the men's national team play. It always seems the same reoccurring themes. I'm assuming, Noah, I know you follow it closely as well. You want to chime in on that about the different negatives about Benito Floro?
Well, I think when they first hired him, I think their thinking made sense. They wanted to get a guy who was more defensive, who could kind of slow down, the high-paced Central American teams. Like, when you think about it, it kind of makes sense. You have Honduras, Mexico, Costa Rica. They like to play up and down. Bring in a guy who can try to stifle those teams and get results. It kind of makes sense, but he didn't really kind of take the players and shape it. He just sort of took his ideas and just threw it on the players, and then he tried to just make things, puts like square pegs in round holes. And so that's the thing, is like when they hire their next coach, like everyone will be like, oh, we want an exciting coach, a guy who plays more aggressive. But with the quality of players we have, is that going to work? It's not that obvious when you really think about it. So yes, I'm glad that they've now gotten rid of them, but they're going to have some thinking to do, trying to figure out who is the best fit for the players. And it's actually going to come down to, I think, figuring out who actually will be the players. They need to find out, are they going to use more young guys? Is it going to be more the old guard? So, yeah, it's not very obvious at the moment. I wouldn't really know where to go at the moment.
I think, and something that I agree with you there, but something that we've also talked about at length is definitely this idea that international teams that have had success in the past, let's say 2 decades, have always gotten out of the funk by focusing on their young players, bringing up a coach throughout the system with the same players from a young age. So let's say starting with like a U16 or U15 team, and allowing the coach to follow these skilled players up through the system until they become a fully fledged adult players. Does that mean we're going to have to wait several more years to see any Canadian success? Right? I see you nodding, Javier.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to answer your question, is Floro leaving a good thing? Yes. And does it provide hope? Yes. But we're still a long way from seeing any results. Like you just said, a lot of other national programs, when they have droughts of not winning, they look to their teams or youth teams. They have coaches brought up with U16s and U18s and then bring them to the national. The best example I can give is most recently, after Del Bosque's exit from the Spanish national team, they hired a coach. His name escapes me, but he coached the Spanish youth squads from U16 to U18. And if you look at the core of the Spanish national team now, it's made up of quality young players like Isco and these types of players, and he was able to coach them at a youth level and bring them to youth World Cups. And I'm where it looks like they could continue their legacy in terms of their winning tradition.
Yeah.
And that's what Canada needs to do as well. As long as it's going to take years, but eventually we should be able to get there.
I think ideally what we would like to see, what all of us would like to see, is just some sort of change in those FIFA rankings. You know, just seeing some sort of stability, a slow moving up of those rankings. We're not expecting to have a top 30 team in the next 3 years, 4 years, of course. That would be kind of ridiculous. But Ronnie, were you able to catch any of the Canadian men's national team games before we head on to the next topic?
For sure, yeah. I mean, I follow them like pretty extensively, and like you're saying, we don't have like the best talent in the world, but I mean, we've got talent to be placed ahead of like 100. You know, it's like we got Hutchinson in there, we got like Hoylett, Arfield, and sure they've got their critics, but this is talent. That's a pretty solid midfield. And then like you're omitting like guys like Osorio and Johnson. You know, it's like Laren. I mean, he's got talent. Just
Yeah, Ronnie, we're losing you a bit. Actually, you're cutting in and out a bit.
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm catching you for like a few seconds and then losing you for a few seconds. But if you want, what we'll do is we'll move on to the next topic and we can try and see if we get a better internet connection. That sound good?
Yep.
Okay. Well, the next thing, anyways, I mean, it's somewhat of a nice transition. We were just talking about Canada, but we also mentioned England. We're going to do a little, which is something we're going to do every week. We're going to pick up a couple of leagues that we follow personally, that we have some sort of experience following. We'll talk about any talking points, any big scores or anything like that. Typically, we like to start with La Liga, which is Javier's domain. Anything big that happened this weekend aside from the big teams destroying everybody?
Hey, you know what? You're wrong in saying that. The big teams did not destroy everybody.
Oh, boy.
It was not a classic La Liga weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Last podcast, we left the listeners off with a little bit of a taste of the Atleti Barcelona game, which ended 1-1. Barcelona playing away to Madrid, which is a huge result for Barcelona in the race for the title. In terms of this weekend, you're right. Barcelona did destroy a lower team 5-0, but Atleti only beat Bilbao 1-0, and the surprise of the week was Real Madrid's tie. And a lot of people are going, well, who did they tie? It wasn't Barcelona, it wasn't Atleti. It was actually team of the podcast, Las Palmas. Tied them 2-2 at Madrid.
Wow.
Huge result for the team of the podcast, as I'm referring to them now, because they are the team of the podcast. And huge result, and it keeps them in contention with Real at the top of the table. In terms of an interesting result from the week, if you're looking at La Liga, the big teams, you know who they are. You know they're Real Madrid, they're Barcelona, they're Atletico Madrid. But a lot of people will look to Sevilla as the fourth big club there after all the European Championship wins, or the Europa League, sorry. But this weekend at home, they lost 3-1 to Athletic Bilbao, who is, in terms of talent, a lesser team than them. And that kind of begs the question with Sevilla now losing and tying a couple games in a row, is the loss of Unai Emery to PSG as coach bigger than a lot of people thought it would be? In terms of the standings, after this week, you still have Real at the top with Barcelona, Atleti, Bilbao, and Villarreal, the Yellow Submarine, all within 1 point of that first place team. And that's La Liga for this week.
Impromptu commercial break that we had to take just for some technical issues going on here. What I was saying, though, was recognizing Noah as our resident Hillary Clinton compared to Javier's Trump. Sorry, but yeah.
Yeah, it sucks. I think I can give like some sort of like finger guns.
Yeah. Well, anyways, moving on to Hillary Clinton over there with Noah. Noah.
I just want to say that I'm a Bernie Sanders fan, so it's a little bit awkward for me.
Yeah, well, what we were doing was we were moving around the leagues, right? So we wanted Noah to go over his EPL recap. How about that?
Will do. All right, I'll jump right into it. So start with Man United. They got back in the groove this past week, beating the champs, Leicester, 4-1. Jose Mourinho made a few changes, and they all seemed to work out. He took off everyone's whipping boy, Wayne Rooney, and put him on unceremoniously on the bench, put Marcus Rashford in, and he scored in the first half. And they ended up cruising. So they're back, and Leicester, not so much. Leicester did win today in the Champions League, and my favorite Leicester player now, Islam Slimani, scored. So that's all they have going for them right now is they have this guy Islam. I love it.
Just a quick question, Noah. I just really need to know how Tottenham did. Can you just...
We won 2-1 over Middlesbrough.
Yeah, can you, sorry, Noah, can you say that again?
Well, Tottenham had a great week. I will get to Tottenham.
Okay.
I don't want to get there, but I will get there. But yeah, Tottenham had a great weekend. It was all because of this guy, Son Heung-min. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'll go there right now. He basically scored all their goals for Tottenham this week. That includes Champions League, which they won also. Great moments in the Tottenham win against Middlesbrough this past weekend. This is how I saw his. I think I'm going to call it the goal of the year so far. It was like he was an equestrian show horse. He just sort of sauntered around the Middlesbrough defense in the box, and then just slotted home in the corner. It was, I don't know if it was horrible defending or just amazing play. Either way, good for them. Good for you guys.
I don't think I've ever heard an Arsenal fan wax so lyrically about a Tottenham goal.
Only because it was Arsenal's week. They actually beat someone of note, Chelsea, who they had not beat for five years, which is ridiculous to not have beaten a team for 5 years when you consider yourself a cup contender every single year. So that happened. Arsenal won 3-0 over Chelsea. Sanchez was playing in the number 9 role again and looked very good, had a goal and assist. Ozil actually did something really, really good. He scored a goal off a one-time shot in the box. And, it was it's almost like one of the most perfect games I've seen from Arsenal in a long time.
Well, actually, just to talk a bit more about that game, we were watching it seemingly all together because we were chatting at the same time. Yep. There was some impressive passing going on. That's probably one of the most entertaining games I've seen so far this season.
Well, I don't know if it's more because Chelsea were not on and Arsenal were on, or it's always hard to tell, right? If one team is just playing so well that it makes the other team look bad, or one team is just playing bad and it makes the other team look good. I'm a little bit pessimistic when it comes to Arsenal because they seem to just never put together many good performances in a row. But yeah, I think Arsenal were just really good. They were aggressive in their tackles. They were heading away everything in the box, and yeah, their passing was really mint. So yeah, it was just a really solid game. But guys like Hazard were kind of a no-show for Chelsea, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Honestly, I did not see anybody stick out or anything like that. Ronnie, what about you? What did you see this weekend?
Yeah, for sure. It's like Noah was saying. I mean, Arsenal looked great. Chelsea looked terrible. Diego Costa, they finally really gave it to him. It was overdue. He was up for a real, he got destroyed on Twitter, got destroyed on Instagram, everywhere. It was Arsenal looked really good. Like Noah said, it's were they that good or did Chelsea help them? Is Conte getting the most out of the team? Has he maybe lost the team already this early in the season? Because they looked a lot better the first 3 games, and the past 3 they've just looked horrible. So I don't know, hard to say.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, Man United had a really bad week 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, I should say. So then they bounced back, beating Leicester 4-1. So it could just be a couple of personnel changes. I mean, when you talk about these teams, they have such good players. It's a little bit quick to. I remember even with Chelsea last year, people were not really writing them off until well into the second half of the season. So, we'll see when it comes to Chelsea. But yeah, it was against Arsenal as well. So Arsenal seemed to put together one of these amazing performances every once in a blue moon where you're like, okay, they're finally a cup contender. So maybe they just ran into the wrong team this past week.
Alexi, what were you going to add for the EPL coverage?
First of all, I was just going to say, yes, Arsenal played a nice game as much as it pains me. And something really interesting that Mesut Ozil said. He apparently said he's open to a move to MLS in the near future.
Huh.
Mentioning LA specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. That makes sense because in the off season he lives in LA, so there's no surprise there.
Yep.
But I mean, I'd be deeply, deeply surprised if he makes a move to the MLS before Schweinsteiger does, or
Yeah, of course.
any
He's
of
still-
the other big German names. I mean, Klose still hasn't even left Europe yet, which is fascinating.
How do you guys feel about that though? Like a little bit of sidetrack off right now, but that so many good players will come out of nowhere and say, "Oh yeah, MLS, I'm interested," but you know that it's like Los Angeles, Miami, New York, and it's like do you actually get excited, or do you sort of go like, well, it's not really going to be good for us?
I get
Impact.
excited.
Most any team, it's really just like you said. He's got a house in Miami or LA, so it's like, oh, it's perfect. I'll just finish out my career near my summer house. You know, it's like, do you guys have an opinion on that?
Lexi, what do you want to say?
I find it's personally good for the league, as the MLS, if we can land someone like Mesut Ozil if he's 38, it would be great, or a Bastian Schweinsteiger at any time in his career. It would be amazing for the league. But obviously he's not going to play for the Montreal Impact. Sorry, I hate to break it to anyone here. But Mesut Ozil probably isn't going to play for the Montreal Impact in 2 years. Anyone surprised there?
No, but I mean, it's the same thing that I spoke about earlier in the show where we were talking about, most of the attraction for some of these big international names are the big cities,
Yeah,
right?
but-
It's the glamorous cities. It's the New York. It's the LA. And they're actually, believe it or not, aside from guys like Dempsey, that were like, no, I'm more than happy to go back to a supporter-strong team like Seattle or Portland. It's odd that the teams that seemingly have the most consistent success aren't the ones necessarily that are getting the phone calls from these international agents, I guess. Javier, what do you think?
I mean, I'll keep it short and simple. Noah, that's just the way it is, to quote the fact. That's all it is. It's the way it works. It's the way it's always going to work.
Yeah.
That's the unfortunate part of the MLS.
Yeah. Well, because the thing is that, I mean, I feel like people are thinking that the MLS is changing, though. You see no real change, is what you're saying. It's like,
I'm saying no matter how hard the MLS governing body tries to keep parity in the league, which they're doing a great job of. Every team is at least tries to stay in the hunt throughout the season, but the places bigger players will want to go is always going to be the LAs and the Miamis and the New Yorks of the world. It'll never be the Montreals.
that's what I think. I'm in complete agreement. It's just that I feel like there's thoughts out there that the MLS is getting somewhere. They're changing. They're improving in how they attract players. But yeah, I don't really see a huge difference with the big profile players. But
What difference does it, honestly, though? Think about it. As much as we've always been selling the MLS as saying the only way that they're going to get success is by building from the inside, right? Getting those North American players, getting those South American players to come to the MLS is going to be the real clue to success. But to be honest, how different really is that from the EPL, from Spain? I mean, players are going to want to play in that league, but probably only if they get to play for the top 3 or 4 teams, right? It's the big franchises. I mean, there's no surprise there. If somebody says, hey, if your agent calls you and says, hey, I got a phone call from an EPL team, and you're thinking, I hope it's one of those top 5.
no, it's
And then it ends up being like Fulham, you know? So probably you're going to feel a little bit less excited, right?
Yeah, no, you're right. I guess it's just differing levels, right? It's like, for instance, Wilfred Boney just signed with Stoke, and he would be by far the best player in the MLS probably. But in EPL, he's like a middle of the road kind of striker. So that's
I think that one of the things slowing down the MLS and turning people off is the coaching level. It's probably something we're going to talk about later, but I really think coaching, the systems, that's what's missing. We have the stadiums, we've got the fans, well, enough fans certain places. We've got some talent, the physicality. I think the last thing is the coaching.
I'm actually just, before I pass it off to you, Alexi, I was just going to say there was a quote. Now, I'm trying to remember by who it was. I'm thinking it was Antonio Conte, when he, during the Italian offseason, had a bit of a, allowed himself to share his opinion on MLS play and Andre Pirlo. And what he said when he was describing the MLS, he said that in the MLS, there is more running than football.
Right.
And I think he's right, and I think that Ronnie is getting somewhere by saying that it is coaching and tactics and strategy that is going to help change that. Alexi, what were you going to say?
I'm also going to say it's nice by keeping big names aware of some of these ridiculous rules that we have. Like, if we look at some of the other leagues, you just read some of these rules and they're just confusing. Like, as someone who follows the MLS, it's really not easy to understand these. And all these travel rules that you hear teams mention, they have to stay in certain places. Couldn't it be nicer just to have 3 designated players and just let teams do what they want? Or just have a salary cap? I think some of these rules are also suffocating the league and how far we can go.
Noah, what do you think?
I think that's just a way of keeping the teams in the black. Trying. I think they're trying to. It's a very young league, of course, right? So I think they're trying to just make money at the beginning or just try not to lose too much money. And I think it would just get out of control maybe if they. I think they're trying to like ease their way up. And unfortunately, what happens is when you bring like when they made this designated players rule, what ended up happening was so many, all of a sudden, these really, really good players started coming in that everyone kind of got ahead of themselves, or the fans did anyways. Everyone wants more big players more of the time. So, they kind of hurt themselves a bit by adding that rule. So, like I think I probably mentioned last week, you gotta walk before you run. So I think they just gotta they'll get there eventually. I think with the salary cap, things will change, but it'll be slow. I think.
These are like regular ongoing narratives that we're probably going to talk about in the MLS for many, many months to come. But this gives us an option to transition to Alexi, who wanted to give a bit of a recap for the MLS action that happened this past weekend and week. What do you got for us?
Sure. So we'll start off with the game we all know. The Impact traveled to Red Bull Arena in New York to face off versus the New York Red Bulls. As I presume many of you know, we lost 1-0, but our first half we improved. So if we can keep on how we played in the first half, we might have a chance, especially since next week we're playing versus the San Jose Earthquakes, who we have had a lot of success in the past and are not, by any means of an imagination, the hottest team in the league. To cover the rest of the MLS, we can start with front runners NYCFC, who had a big win over bottom dwelling New York City, over bottom dwelling Chicago Fire, 4-1 for NYCFC in that match. A nice result for the Impact here. Toronto FC and Philadelphia had a draw, 1-1, which kind of keeps them both a bit closer with 1 point each. Then DC United, big win for them over Orlando to keep them in the hunt for a playoff spot. And one of the most important games here for the Impact, the Columbus Crew pulled out a surprising win over the New England Revolution, 2-0, which keeps the Revolution a bit at bay from the Impact, because if we look at the standings here, the New England Revolution are 1 point back of the Impact. 2 points back of the Impact, and DC is 1 point back of the Impact.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the final playoff spot, correct?
Yeah, we're currently sitting in 5th, and we're within 2 points of dropping out of the playoffs. Right. So next week, the games us Impact supporters will have to keep our eye on are DC United, who's playing against Toronto FC. So not an easy matchup there. But then we have DC United is playing both Toronto FC on the Saturday and Columbus on the Wednesday. So Columbus Crew, I'd be surprised if they can pull out 2 wins versus high-ranking opponents. So we could see DC United with all 3 points catch up to the Impact as soon as tomorrow night. And then we have the New England Revolution, who are facing off versus Sporting Kansas City. So a mediocre Western team. That'll be an interesting match to watch.
So what would you, aside from, of course, the Quakes game against the Impact tomorrow night, what are the games to watch? You mentioned Columbus. We want to keep an eye on them. They're helping us out.
Just for a good quality of football, you can watch FC Dallas versus LA Galaxy. So the star-studded roster versus probably one of the best teams in the league in FC Dallas. And then an interesting match will probably be the Colorado Rapids with their amazing backline and goalkeeper Tim Howard versus the Portland Timbers, who are fighting for a playoff spot.
And is that in Portland?
I think it's in Colorado. Yeah, that game is going to be in Colorado.
All right, excellent.
For all of you who haven't seen it, go check out Shelton Gashi's free kick goal. He just bent it around the wall last week for an amazing goal.
Yeah, that was beautiful. All right, well, thank you, Alexi. What we're going to do is, before we head on to the Impact stuff, I'm just going to do a quick recap of some of the Bundesliga and Champions League action because there's tons of games today. So for the Bundesliga, I mean, typically, like La Liga, you end up having the big names, the big teams ending up destroying some of their competition. This week, not so much. We actually had a relatively close game between Dortmund and Freiburg, 3-1. That was last Friday. But the big surprise of this past weekend on Saturday was Bayern only winning 1-0 over Hamburg, which is pretty surprising. There's another couple of things that stood out. There's Chicharito, who has been fantastic in the Bundesliga for Bayer Leverkusen. Had another fantastic game on Saturday against Mainz with Bayer's win 3-2 over them. And the table looks kind of interesting right now, actually. Last week when we were doing some of our podcast testing, I was talking about how Eintracht, which has always been, frankly, a bottom-feeding team, all of a sudden was in third position or fourth position just behind Berlin. They're still up there. So we have Bayern, Dortmund, Köln, Mönchengladbach, and Eintracht at the top, and then Berlin that rounds out the top six. It's pretty impressive seeing actually how much competition is coming out of the Bundesliga early on. Always good news to see when you have a bit more competition. The only other talk, of course, would be from the Champions League. I've been going on about this for weeks, about Christian Pulisic with Dortmund, right? You guys have heard me talk about this multiple times. This American sweetheart that seemingly has been proclaimed to be the next Messi. He had, again, I'm almost sad to say it, a good game today against Real Madrid in the Champions League for Dortmund. He came on as a substitution, I think it's in the 73rd minute, and then ended up giving the assist for the tying goal. So Dortmund, Real Madrid ended in a draw. The only other big games that I can see was Tottenham beating Moscow 1-0, as Noah mentioned before. Big thumbs up over there. Leicester City coming out with a 1-0 win. Sevilla over Lyon, which actually must have been an exciting game. I particularly like both of those teams and how they play. Juventus got through on a big win. Tomorrow, however, we got some interesting games. We have Bayern versus Atletico, which I think, are you going to be watching that, Javier?
I will be watching that game.
That'd be fantastic. We got Barcelona against Mönchengladbach, who has had some success, like I just mentioned.
Good team.
Yeah, good team. And the only other one that stands out for me, maybe two of them, Napoli versus Benfica could be exciting, and Arsenal versus Basel, which is always going to be nice.
Can I just say one thing?
Absolutely.
I just briefly looked at Sporting CP. It's a Portuguese team.
Yeah.
Their lineup, it looks fantastic, and I believe they won their game today 2-0.
Yeah, they played against Warsaw.
Warsaw. I guess it's not exactly a crazy win or anything, but that's a team to watch. They have Bas Dost for one of the better German teams last year. It escapes me at the moment, but they have a number of really good players. That could be a bit of a dark horse, I think, going into I feel like they have a good chance of qualifying, and it's like Las Palmas. Pay attention to Sporting. There could be something going on there.
Team of the podcast.
Yeah, well, we'll keep an eye. I mean, they've had an interesting schedule now. I'm just looking at it. They had a win in the Champions League today. They had a win in the Premier Liga as well on the weekend. They actually put up a good fight against Real Madrid just a couple weeks ago, September 14th. They just lost 2-1.
Well, that's funny because they were actually winning that game 1-0 in the 89th minute, and Real scored. That's a good sign for them.
And this is coming off of just previous to that. They just came off of a big win against Porto in the Premier Liga in Portugal as well. So that absolutely is a team to keep an eye on. They were very, very competitive. Now, I guess that's a great transition. We can start talking about the Red Bulls game from last week against the Impact, how we did, what you guys saw. I know Javier and Ronnie in particular wanted to do a bit of a recap. Ronnie, why don't you hit us up with what you saw?
Sure. First thing to say on that point was I love the lineup. Lineup looked awesome. A few question marks, regardless. I mean, the obvious one was Kamara back at right back. I'm sure Noah would love to jump all over that one.
I don't know anymore.
Also, I mean, the other question was kind of like Aduro over Salazar. I mean, either one, it still looked good on paper. I really thought we could have come out with a result. I mean, not 3 points. I mean, New York's been amazing at home. I think they just lost one game in the past year or so. But still, I think working out for an honest tie, I think would have been possible. But once again, just the system. I think the system just completely let us down. The crosses were just flying in on the wings. They had 10 feet of space to do whatever they wanted with the ball. In the midfield, respecting them way too much. Sitting back, giving them way too many chances. You can't do that with their lineup. You just can't. You got to close down question Felipe. You can't let them run with the ball. It's we've seen it before against other teams. So I mean, I gotta I just wonder. I do not know what we were thinking going into that game. Maybe just hoping for the best, but yeah, we just didn't see the best. It was no players to point at specifically. Well, maybe Drogba, I think, was completely missing. But once again, I just think it was the system.
It definitely looked like there was a lack of communication amongst a lot of players, a lot of duos on the team that should be clicking. Guys like Piatti and Drogba together. Didn't see much movement on the Bernardello and Piatti side either. I'm assuming Salazar came off because there wasn't much chemistry with Donadel and Bernier either. What did you see, Javier? Anything else that stood out for you?
Well, I should preface this by saying I was away from home on Saturday night, so I wasn't able to watch the game live. So I watched the game already knowing the final score. So maybe that goes into a little bit of what I'm about to say. But there is something wrong with this team. There really is. If we have any returning listeners from last week, you already know how I feel about the Impact at this point. And that is going into New York against a very strong Red Bulls team, I thought we had no shot. Not a shot at all. And on Saturday night, when I saw the starting lineup, so without even watching the game, I saw the starting lineup, I said, we lost. It's over. Forget about it. There was no chance we were winning. That starting lineup, Ronnie, I know you say you kind of liked it. I hated it. I saw it. I saw Kamara at right back. I said, this is going to end in a disaster, as it has since July 13th. It's been 3 months now, and it has not worked. Other thoughts from the game? A lot of people are going...
Just besides the Kamara thing, anything else you didn't like from the lineup? Just curious.
Well, I'm about to get there, but don't worry, I'll get there.
Can I first just recommend something that I hated about the lineup?
Sure.
I cannot stand seeing fucking Cabrera's name on any lineup sheet ever again.
I was about to get there.
Go ahead.
Just a lot of people were saying after the game, prior to my watching of it, they were going, "Oh, it was only a 1-0 loss in New York, and the ref missed a penalty shot at the end, which could have tied it up, and we could have got away with a point." And I watched the game with this in mind, and I said to myself, how on earth are these people thinking that we got, it was a good result? The team did not show up. They had a couple of moments, but we could have absolutely lost 5-6-0
Easily
in New York against the Red Bulls. Was it a penalty shot at the end? Yes. Yep. Would we have scored? Probably. But that doesn't, with the Impact, I don't even know anymore. But that is besides the point. And it is now definitively, I have empirical evidence over the last 3 months, it is time to bench Didier Drogba. The man can no longer start on this team. I don't care who he is. I don't care who he played for. I don't care how much of a legend he is. The man does not care anymore. I don't get it. He doesn't look interested. He doesn't look like he's having a good time. And it's just destructive to this Impact team to have him out there. If you want to have him, bring him in the last 35 minutes to score a goal or try to score a goal, go for it. But he should not start anymore. And I'm hoping, and this is something I thought I would never say, that he is not on the starting 11 in tomorrow's lineup.
Well, I have to say, I mean, I think you're at least going to get some agreement amongst the guys on the show today because we have not seen anything that we're satisfied with from Drogba. Even since that one game that he did sit, what was that, 3 weeks ago?
Yeah.
No change.
He doesn't care. He thinks he's the king of this league, and he's not.
And honestly, just going back to, you were talking about the missed penalty call against Mancosu at the end there. What is it, 92nd minute?
Yep.
I'm sorry, but anytime I hear a fan say, we could have, there was a missed penalty, so it could have been ended in a draw, you should not be waiting until the 92nd minute to get a questionable penalty call in order to get some points out of the game.
Just a question for you guys, just to maybe further prove my point. Was there even an opportunity that was quality in the 92 minutes prior to that penalty shot that should have been given?
Piatti.
Yeah, the beauty.
But Piatti can't hit the side of a barn if he was on a farm. He's developing Dominic Oduro syndrome. It's just terrible.
Well, it was a chance. You asked if there was a chance. We had a chance.
There was a chance. It was a chance. I have to say,
Fair.
speaking as a goalkeeper, even I laughed because when I got on to my Facebook the next day, I looked at MLS always posts, the highlights of the weekend and stuff like that. And Robles' save was on there, and I was going, for Christ's sake, he shot short side, and he made the stop. Not a problem. I don't think that's going to get past anybody in this league, okay, except for potentially a Montreal Impact goaltender.
Hey,
So,
hot takes.
yeah.
Fans.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, the fans will do. I remember. I bet you. I'm an advanced fan now. I know when I know when my team was supposed to lose. I know when they did not. Arsenal tied PSG a couple weeks ago. PSG had 10 more chances than Arsenal won, which was their goal. Okay, and I know it was a miracle draw. If what you're saying is true, that Red Bulls had 6 chances to score, we do. Yeah, the penalty means nothing. The penalty shout means nothing. It's they were supposed to win. They had a better game. Just know when you've been beaten is what I'm saying.
Absolutely, and I think that's the key here. I mean, I know we're coming across sounding very cynical, but then again, we have been dealing with 2 to 3 months of some poor quality football from a team that, quite frankly, has the names on it to be able to deliver at least an entertaining match every weekend, whether or not it ends in a win or a draw or a loss. But I'm looking at a couple of things that stood out for me. First of all, I have to admit, we already mentioned the penalty. The reffing and officiating in this game was a little questionable because of a variety of reasons. One, any game that has Felipe in it is going to be a headache. It's not going to be a gimme for these officials. I thought Montreal looked like fools, especially Bernardello when he took that challenge after the whistle from Cleston. I mean, there was nothing there, and then he drops down, grabs his face. I find that embarrassing. If we're a team that's at the top of the league, by all means, act like Felipe and drop down. Nobody's going to bat an eye. But when you're fighting to even put together a winning squad, that is not how you keep your spot. I mean, that was pretty embarrassing. I saw way too much diving for my liking.
Yeah, it's always it's one part of soccer that I find embarrassing for everyone. When there's this glancing blow to the knee and the player goes down and tries to pretend he has a broken nose, it's just it's one thing in soccer I just can't stand. And the Impact, I used to think we were above it, and we're definitely not. Piatti does his fair share of rolling around in the dirt. Drogba,
Every game.
I mean, this little touch in the back from Collin, and he's down with the trainers. It's a bit much.
Yep.
I mean, there was the one game where he took the fall in the box. No contact there. We got the penalty that eventually meant something. But no, you just have to be gritty. You have to grind it out. Mm-hmm. You have to force yourself. And you have to get up and you have to keep on going. It's your only chance.
Yeah, and nobody's helping the team by acting like that. I mean, I'm looking at how many times we've probably missed out on maintaining some sort of forward motion and some sort of what's the word I'm looking for?
It just breaks the flow. It just breaks your
Flow. Exactly, some flow moving up the field or anything. It's being broken down by these attempts to gain a foul, which we end up kicking away anyways. We haven't been utilizing any set pieces to any really great end.
No,
what are you saying, Alexi?
It's so
Sorry,
small
to build on that, Drogba, even when he had a bad game, he could still make the difference with a free kick. And I just found recently he hasn't had anything on. I can't remember the last time he hit a free kick on target. And like, even if you're not involved in a game, you can still swing your boot and put the free kick on target. And he has the talent.
He looks disinterested.
Even at 38, he can still.
Does he look disinterested? I mean, what happened at the end of the game? I don't know if you guys caught the footage. Of course, what happens? He walks through the tunnel. He ends up being chirped at by a couple of fans up top, which, by the way, if you do a little bit of your research, are particularly favorite fans of the Red Bull supporters. These are two brothers. They're American military men that fought in Afghanistan. They have articles you can read up on the New York Red Bulls pages. I don't know what these guys yelled, but what the hell is Drogba doing walking up into the stands and yapping at a bunch of fans and then coming out and saying that they stepped over the line? It's like, well, honestly, I don't know what you're not there to yell at fans. You're definitely there to play football, and you haven't been doing that.
Well, I don't know. I saw the video. I don't have a clue what the fans said.
Yeah,
Did anyone?
It doesn't matter what they said.
Well,
Sounds like he's a loser, really. It's just that's all it sounds like.
yeah. Short
Listen,
of them like calling him some racial slur, Drogba just walk off the field. Like
but
I'm
I'm sure he's heard the worst of it in England and other places. I mean, a lot of people were saying, well, what if it was race? What if it was a racial slur? And yes, that makes people react emotionally for sure. But I'm sure he's heard it all in England.
Yeah.
Like, he's heard it all, and it's never bothered him before.
But look at the interview he did right after the match. Sorry, Noah. Look at the interview he did right after the match. If it was anything to do with race, do you think he would have mentioned it in that interview? Absolutely, he would have. All he said was, "No, I just thought they stepped over the line."
Guys, also, I didn't see the video, but I read that in one of the articles, they actually said it was two black brothers. So.
Yeah, actually, I'm not sure where they're from. Actually,
I'm not sure. Yeah,
I was surprised they actually wrote it that way, but yeah, they said it was two black brothers. So I figured they were trying to eliminate the racial possibility, I guess, right off the bat.
Yeah, but I mean, like on pure speculation alone, I mean, to me, yeah, I don't think he had anything to do with race. I think they were just calling him out for how garbage of a player he has been in the last 2 or 3 months, and he didn't like that, and that's all it was.
Yeah,
that's pure speculation. I could be like way off.
Hey,
I don't know.
Maybe they were fans and they just wanted to see him actually show up and play a game.
There it is.
They probably made a mention about the ticket costs at Red Bull Stadium.
Entertainment.
It wasn't worth it.
$6. You know.
Alexi, what are you saying?
Yeah, just rewatching the video here quickly. Both men who are confronting Drogba are African American, and at the end, there's also a bit of Mancuso getting involved there, and it's just embarrassing for the team. Like, you shouldn't have two players yelling at fans. You shouldn't have them walk into the stands. You lost. You got outplayed. Get off the field and go get yelled at by your coach. It's like,
wow, it would be more of a soft,
even then,
soft speaking from.
Even then, not even mentioning whatever sort of ethnicity fans and players might be. I mean, sure. Fans should not be interacting with players and yelling all sorts of stuff. I mean, we've had ugly scenes outside of Saputo Stadium of our fans, not even from our ultras or supporters groups necessarily, but some of our fans yelling at TFC players, things like that. But admittedly, you have less control over that. It's the players that are supposed to say, no, I can take this. This is part of the game. This is part of the job. Of course, without it really crossing over the line, as we've seen in some other leagues. But it just really was embarrassing to me to watch this team not only lose, but deal with it so badly.
the players are supposed to be above the fans. Like, the fans are there to watch the players, and there's a gap between the two.
And fans are allowed to say whatever they want. Like they are allowed to heckle. They can do whatever. That's what they paid for a little bit, is to sort of do whatever they want, you know?
Yeah.
So exactly. Players got to be professionals. I just think personally Drogba is just, he's not used to losing. he's not used to being in this position where like the heckles actually make sense. Like you do suck, you know? Like he's like, man, they're right, I do suck, and now I have to like defend myself. Like I'm not King Drogba today. I haven't been for a while, so I think he's just in a weird spot right now where he's like, man, he doesn't know what to do almost, and that's probably why he's kind of freelancing on the field and like going back in midfield and taking the ball and trying to do all sorts of things that don't revolve around what he's being paid to do, score goals. So I think it's just he's off because the team has just been atrocious. Like you can blame Drogba like for all their woes, but at the end of the day, a lot of players have been underperforming, and when you're losing, it's hard to just pull it all together.
But
So
then we kind of come back to like the leaders of the team, right? And Drogba being one of the
yeah.
leaders and probably the highest paid, he kind of should be the guy leading the line when it comes to picking the team up, right? And that's kind of where we kind of think he's been missing, right?
That's why.
I mean,
Yeah.
So yeah, I kind of think it is kind of up to him. For the money he's making,
Oh yeah, Drogba is.
Oh no, I'm not saying that he's not the one to pick up the team. I'm just saying that he's not the one necessarily to blame for the losing. I just think like so many players. I mean, like I remember I was going to bring up a point last week about like who on the team do you guys think has actually had a good, solid, consistent year? And I don't like. I remember we went around. I don't know if anyone actually said anyone's had a good, consistent year. Like,
Yeah.
what do you guys think?
Well,
No,
he
we
used
didn't have any agreement really. I don't think we came up with a name where we didn't have some sort of downside.
You're using. People have been consistently bad. No one's been consistently good.
Look at this guy, hot takes.
Good, Alexi.
I like it.
Yeah. Oh, can I just make a quick? I just want to say a quick thing about Drogba and like benching him.
Yeah.
I think the team's in a really tough spot. And by team, I mean everyone, like Saputo, the whole team. I personally, if I was the coach and there was no one looking over me and telling me what to do, I'd be like, yeah, bench him. But I feel like they're like, okay, we got a few games left. Let's just keep playing him, keep putting people in the seats. Let's keep making money, and I feel like they're not really wrong because will the team be much better if he's benched? A bit better, but that much better? It's a bit of a weird one. Like I know we're all like armchair coaches here, and we'd all play Mancosu over Drogba, but like if you really thought about the big picture of the team and how maybe this time next year we will have forgotten this even happened, they need to make some dough a little bit. So it's not as easy a call, is what I'm saying.
I think you're right. I think there has to be some sort of recognition that, and we've said this for weeks now, is it really all that smart to bench Drogba when he has such a high potential upside, and we've only got him for maybe another handful of games?
Yeah.
So at the same time, I mean, look at Mancosu. We're talking about like who's been like the better performers. I think over the past 10 games, I think he's probably the only one that hasn't definitively sucked. At least one.
You're
game.
right.
He's probably been the most consistent. I know he hasn't been here that long, but I mean, he shows the quality. He's shown the heart when he comes in. He's running his like freaking brains out. But so like for me, it's a no-brainer. I mean, Mancosu plays before Drogba, absolutely.
All I was saying is that my coach mind says start Mancuso, and my ownership mind says play Drogba the rest of the way. I mean, I'm just saying that's.
I respectfully completely disagree with you, Noah. Listen, Mr. Saputo understands that, yes, Didier Drogba fills the seats, and he's there, he's a legend, and he will make you a lot of money. But you know what else will make you more money? Making the playoffs and playing a couple of games at home and selling out those tickets. Because right now, the way this team is playing, even with Didier in the lineup, we're not making the playoffs. And he's missing out on a huge opportunity there. So I think both coach and owner, maybe they haven't spoken about it, or they're scared to do so because they don't want to piss off season ticket holders that may not come back next year. But they I think are both in lockstep in saying, well, if he's not at top of his game, if he's not informed, then let's get him off the field.
Or at least have a conversation with him. Right?
Exactly. Or at least have that conversation.
Like, listen, like exactly what you just said. And do you feel, Didier, that are you a bit injured? Do you feel like you might need a rest? And maybe that will kind of, make him go, man, they are really relying on me this much. And maybe I need to either wake up or sit down. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not even sure that realization is ever going to happen.
And that's the unfortunate part.
Yeah, I don't think he thinks that way. But again, I mean, you can go back and say, hey, how is the team without Drogba? And you can go back to the beginning of the season. He wasn't available to play for the first 6 games, and we were 4-1-1.
Yep.
That was our best stretch of the season, sadly, which was the first 6 games. But then again, you have Piatti with 14 goals and Drogba with 10. Can you really discount that? I mean, there is some quality there, but is the problem that perhaps not everybody else is showing up on the team either?
But then again, I mean, look at Piatti's stats. And I mean, the goals he had before Drogba came back and started playing 90 minutes versus now. I mean, the well's dry, man. It's like he was scoring when Drogba wasn't there.
Well, that's because there's no chemistry between Piatti and Drogba. There hasn't been since he's kind of gotten here. So it's not helping, It's like it's either the ball goes out wide to Piatti and he just kind of does his thing and you hope for the best, or they maybe throw the ball down the wing to Duro and hopefully, or someone over there and hopefully he gets the ball to Drogba. But there's never any confusion across the line.
Well, yeah, it's like Drogba's assists are coming from Seaman, Kamara, and Bush. It's like they're just hoofing the ball up and like he does something with it. Or
absolutely, and that's a lack of strategy.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure.
That's just a lack of tactics, and that is just sort of giving up rather, and just booting it down the field. But I know we want to continue talking about the variety of ways to frustrate us. But there's a couple of things I just want to mention before we jump into the game tomorrow night against the Earthquakes. We were talking about Venegas earlier. Now, Venegas over the past couple of weeks hasn't been playing, of course. He hasn't been playing for quite some time. And left off the roster, left off the bench for a lot of those games, or at least being a sub that wasn't used. He actually went on Twitter, or at least on social media. I'm fairly certain it was Twitter. And he aired a bit of a complaint about not getting playing time, basically saying, I'm super disappointed that I wasn't able to start in this game. Hopefully, God willing, that I'll be able to get some time soon, but I'm going to work for the team, something like that. It was a bit passive-aggressive, right?
It was with Montero, who also doesn't get a lot of time. It was just sort of like we're all buddies and we're all getting no time. It was just sort of, and kind of weird post,
Yeah, and I'm looking back at the history of this team over the past couple of years, looking at Bernier's wife, for example, posting things on social media. I'm looking at Simon when there was all that drama between him and the administration of the Impact. There's been a lot of sequences where we've had players on our team. I even forgot the biggest one, Bakary Samare, after he was no longer on our team. What is up with this administration not being able to take charge of what their players say online?
It is a failure. Like it kind of also it can help turn the fans against the team if these things kind of go out there all the time, kind of unwatched and unedited. It kind of just makes it look like the players kind of are just shitting on the team, and that shouldn't happen so easily, and it does.
Well, if you remember some of the cases, Soumaré, I'm pretty sure it's after we had traded him to Dallas.
Yeah, of course.
That he started. And when he's with Dallas, there's nothing we can do.
Yeah.
He's with a different team. He's not our problem. And then if you look at Sima, it was once again his wife that I think did quite a bit of the talking that aired her displeasure. I think she did an interview with Belgian media, if you guys remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something like that.
And I mean, first of all, the impact, Laurent Sima, he came here, well, we know the story with his family.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't holding up our end of the bargain, so I think he had every right he had. And that falls back onto ownership for not holding up the unspoken part of his contract. Or maybe it was in writing. And then with Bernier, well, that was the whole Copas thing. And it was once again his wife who put something out on social media. So it's never been the player, with Venegas, it was himself.
Yeah.
But it's always been so far it's been the partner's wife. And with Venegas, he took it. He said he liked more playing time, but doesn't everyone want more playing time? Like, for me, he said something that kind of went without saying. Like, everyone on the bench wants to make it on the pitch.
You're right. You're not wrong, but it just seems like there's so many pieces that seem to happen that whether it's the player or the right, it seems like there's when you group it all together. I even remember Jack McInerney also sort of I feel like he was also in the news about not being happy about a certain number of things. It just seems like when you put it all together, whether it's player or not, it just seems like there's something not being handled perfectly well.
Yeah, there's some sort of PR aspects to this team that doesn't seem to be well supervised.
Supervised.
But I mean, I was going to say that Jose Mourinho, for example, in the EPL last weekend, okay, he was asked questions about who he was going to start and why he was sitting certain guys, et cetera, et cetera. And he responded by saying, until you tell me that the league has changed it, that we can now start 12 players, I'm still going to be starting 11 and sitting some of these guys. And every week you're going to be asking me, why did you not play this guy? He's not wrong. There's always going to be guys that are going to have to sit. And Venegas, I mean, did he show anything spectacular earlier this season? No.
He never has.
He never really has. And I mean, as much as, for example, today he was called up to his national team, which is, again, no surprise. Same thing with Ayongo, by the way, getting called up today. But Venegas doesn't even have the reason to complain about not getting playing time. I mean, we've been playing crap, so maybe he has some sort of point there.
Matt is like, when he plays for Costa Rica, he plays well, so that's why he's getting called up. When he plays for Montreal, he doesn't play very well, so it's like they can't just play him based on how he plays for Costa Rica. It's a completely different system. It's a completely different style of play. It's apples and oranges. So for anyone to, go on to be like, he got called up again. Why is he not playing for us? It's just there's no connection there.
Well, but on the same point, I mean, we're criticizing Venegas for not playing the right, not adapting to our system. Drogba doesn't seem to be adapting to our system. Neither is Piatti. I mean, Donadell and Bernadello seem to be struggling for players of their pedigree. So I mean, I don't know. Is it really the players we should be picking on, or is it the system we should be picking on? Because we've got a team to play solid possession soccer. Meanwhile, we've been playing hoofball for the whole year.
Yeah, you're completely right. I just think that Venegas gets less playing time because of the spots. Like he's fighting with more players for spots than say a guy like
Becker. Becker's got more time than Venegas. I mean, that's Becker. I mean, come on, he won't make.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Talking about Becker, we just had a question on Mount Royal Soccer.
Yeah, go ahead.
Takati sent us in about Kyle Becker. Has he been injured, or is he simply the odd man out right now? What are his chances of staying with the club next year? You guys want to try to answer that?
Whew. I don't know. We've had a lot of talks about Becker in our online chats and stuff like that with the rest of the contributors. What do you think, Javier?
I mean, listen, Kyle Becker is, at least this season, is difficult to judge. I mean, because the revolving door at that midfield position where he plays, no one's really been given a shot to stick with it and just go and play game in, game out, make an impression, and claim that for themselves. So to say that he's had a rough go at it, I mean, yeah, you can say that because he hasn't put out the best performances, but he also hasn't been given too many opportunities to play out. To answer the question if he's the odd man out, I mean, first it was Eric Alexander, then he got traded, it had to be someone else. So, yes, he is the odd man out. In terms of if he's going to stay around next year, it's difficult. It's going to be an off-season of change because of either the result of this off-season or because certain players are leaving. So he may get an opportunity to feature a little bit more than this season. But I mean, to me, he's not a impact player. Pardon the pun. He doesn't really make too much of a difference. So it really doesn't matter, to me at least, if he does stay or not.
There's a couple of times where I've seen him, especially earlier this season when he, of course, got more playing time. I did see a certain amount of spark and some sort of much more motivation. and agility, but since I don't think it was anything that merited necessarily him becoming a starting player for the Montreal Impact. What about you, Noah?
Yeah, I think that was his only quality that I saw, and it didn't happen all the time. It was like in a couple of games where I saw he was kind of fighting a bit more to regain possession. I don't really see a lot of talent there. I don't see a lot of quality on the ball. I thought he was known for his passing when he got here, but I don't really see that. And I don't even know exactly what his best position is. Is it defensive midfield? Is it creative attacking midfield? Neither of those positions I would never start him in a game. I don't know. He strikes me. He kind of reminds me of Colin Warner. How I thought about him when we had him in 2013. I was like, yeah, he's okay, but he doesn't really offer all that much. Not great defensively, not great offensively. I mean,
in a league with the salary cap, he can kind of fill the holes.
Right.
But he definitely shouldn't be a starter.
Right.
On
the
the
end,
salary cap. Yeah, he's a good salary cap fit. Yeah, okay.
He's a player we won't have to pay a bundle. I'm not too sure of his exact salary. I can probably find it somewhere.
Probably like $100K.
But yeah, anyways, he is a Canadian. Kyle Becker's a Canadian, so he's not taking up an international roster slot.
Right.
He's taking a spot on the roster. And is having a young player he has an upside. He can maybe turn into something. Maybe he can be a starter in a year or two. Maybe. Depends how he progresses. Could we find something better for $100,000? Like if we put $100,000 out there and try to find a non-international player.
I still think Tablet takes his place next year.
Can I ask a quick question? Ask a quick question. I can't remember how this works, but is it sort of like in hockey or football where there's a training camp in the MLS and players get cut? And is that kind of how it happens? Like, could it be possible that next year in February during training camp they try out a bunch of guys and someone just beats them out? Like,
absolutely.
I mean, and I'm kind of surprised that didn't happen this year, but maybe there was injuries to the young guys. Because I think we're all interested in seeing if some of our younger guys can come forward. The guys from FC Montreal, I'm talking about, can come to the fore next year and provide a challenge for some of the bench/starters we have on the team right now. And I could see somebody. I don't follow FC Montreal that well, but I feel like there must be a few guys that could challenge a guy like a Becker or a Malice for a spot on the roster next year.
Tabla.
Yeah, absolutely. Tabla. I mean, that's a name that we end up bringing up fairly often.
Plays right. Guy is a winger.
I think he's a striker more or less.
Okay.
Not sure here, but also with FC Montreal, there's a player who we brought up. Do you remember when we released Maxime Sou to sign David Choinière to a pro contract?
Yeah.
Well, he's a holding midfielder, I'm pretty sure. So could he possibly replace Becker and then?
I think Choinière plays more like a forward/winger. I think you're thinking of Gagnon Laparé plays.
Yeah, sorry. I heard.
I don't really rate him that high. But again, I have to ask the question: is Becker's natural position really central defensive midfield?
No, flat out. I would have to say no. On the other hand, I see him as an attacking midfielder either. Probably not.
Yeah.
When we play a 4-3-3, I can see him fitting in there. But in a 4-2-3-1, I don't see a role for Becker because he's not a holding midfielder. He's not an attacking midfielder, and by any stretch of the imagination, he's not a winger.
Well, I mean, aside from the theoreticals here for Becker, who frankly is probably a face that we're not going to see tomorrow, what do you guys look forward to seeing tomorrow night against the Quakes? Because we're running a bit long here, and I totally want to get to the important stuff for people to look forward to. I mean, we're playing in Montreal, right? And my man, Lloyd Barker, last week had a great headline. He said, Montreal Impact has lost its way at Saputo Stadium.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do we even have a chance of having any sort of home field advantage going into tomorrow?
I mean,
not if you get the first goal, that's for sure.
Right.
No.
The chance is that we're fortunate that San Jose is coming to town and not someone else, because San Jose isn't that much of a quality team. in terms of an MLS side, and maybe that works out for the Impact. But in terms of what am I expecting from the game tomorrow, is there an audible word for or like I don't want to be there?
Yeah.
Because that's exactly how I feel.
Well, first of all, you just said that you're so happy that it's not a talented team coming to town, okay? Right. That's what you said, Javier, right?
Yes.
Or a quality team. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, let me just bring up some of the season stats from both teams, okay? Games, we got wins. Montreal 9, San Jose 7. Losses, Montreal 10, San Jose 9. Draws, 11-13. Goals, 43 for Montreal, 28 for the Earthquakes. At least we score more goals than them. Goals conceded, 47 for Montreal, 32 for San Jose. I mean, we're pretty much on par with this team.
So that's
How
to
sad
tell
is
you
that?
everything you need to know about what I think about the Montreal Impact right now.
Yeah.
Can we do those stats and subtract like the first half of the season, and then we'd have like 2 goals for and 20 against? So that
That is something to take into account, that we did have success at the beginning of the year with multi-goal games that are probably weighing those stats a bit in the wrong direction. But all that to say, what can we look forward to seeing tomorrow in the game? Let's go through the round table. Alexi, what are you looking forward to?
what I'm looking forward to, well, I think we need to put our mark on the game early. I think we need to press. I think we need to try to create some turnovers, and we need to score early. Because like this is a team we can beat. For me, this is a team we can beat. But the only question mark left is our confidence. And if they score early, this game's done. Like if they score 24 seconds in, like Kai Kamara did, like you could just empty Saputo Stadium because we know how this game is going to end. We need we need to either prove to ourselves that we can score by creating some really good chances, or ideally just putting the ball in the back of the net, finally. And if we don't create something soon, well, first of all, this game's going to not wind up very pretty because they have talented players like Chris Wondolowski who can put it in the back of the net. And personally, I view this game as a must-win for the Impact. If we lose versus a relatively poor side at home, I don't think we're making the playoffs.
I agree.
Javier, you want to take a riff off of that?
Yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. It's this is the game to win. You don't win this game, you don't get your confidence up tomorrow night. Good night, Jim Kite. We're not making the playoffs.
Is that what you're looking for? Is there anything you're looking forward to aside from that tomorrow?
I mean, I'm looking forward to having a good time in the stands, hopefully. I'm not sure if that'll happen, but like, cross our fingers.
And what about you, Noah?
You guys are completely wrong. Just kidding. You guys are completely wrong. I don't know. I mean, everything you guys said made stats. I mean, what else can you hope for but to jump on a team that is below you in the standings, which is a miracle to have anyone below them in the standings at the moment. Now, I don't know. Their confidence is at an all-time low. Like Alexi said, if they concede the first goal, you might as well just pack it up because you know what they're going to do for 80 minutes or whatever. They're going to just huff the ball down the field and hope he does something. So, yeah, they have to. Hopefully, they stick to a game plan throughout the whole game. But you know, I think I've said the last couple of weeks, like I hope they do this, I hope they do that. But at this point, they just have to win somehow. Just gut out a win. It's like that Toronto FC game, you know. Like maybe they should imagine they only have 10 players on the pitch. And, you know,
or just send down and take a red card. Like just take the red card. We play better down.
Take out one of those.
Hey, Calvin Malice, tell him to run into the other goalkeeper.
Exactly. Like, not playing today, just take a red card.
Yeah.
And you know what? With the MLS officiating, you never know. They might not even call it.
Right.
Give them 2-3 runs at the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
We'll get him a red card.
Yeah, they just have to win, no matter what. And yeah, you know, just like lay it all out there. Like Drogba has to have his best game of the year on Wednesday. Like he plays. I know you guys don't want him to play, but you know, I'm telling you guys, he'll probably start. And if he starts, he has to like
light it up.
You know, take it personally.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah. Ronnie, what about you? What are you looking forward to tomorrow?
I'm looking forward to not seeing Drogba in the lineup.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think he can do better on the bench than he did in the field. So As for the rest, I mean, we got to stop thinking about the playoffs. We got to stop talking about the playoffs. Right now, we need one game. Just focus on that one game. Get the shit together. Play some possession. Make some passes. Get that confidence slowly. And just like work up the field. Stop with the hoofball. I mean, we don't have that kind of team. Just like start from square one. We've got the talent. I mean, it's ridiculous we're having these discussions at this point in the season. We're way better than this. So stick to the basics. Get back there. Work it.
Yeah, just an interesting note. The last time we played versus the Earthquakes, I believe it was at San Jose, and it was once again a midweek game, and we were benching quite a few of our players, and we took a red card as well, and the equalizing goal was scored by Kyle Becker, I think, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
That's just round circle.
That's too funny.
Circle of life.
All the way around.
Circle
Yeah.
of life. Kyle
Well,
Becker.
I mean, well, let's talk about. Well, let me mention. I'll give what I'm looking forward to tomorrow. So first of all, we are undefeated against San Jose. Correct? We got 2 wins, 2 draws. That's not bad. At least we get a certain lift in that history. But honestly, what I'm looking to see is just effort. Again,
Yeah.
I said the same thing last week. If I can see a game where these guys leave some sort of energy on the field, they look like they want to win, I don't give a shit what lineup it is. I just want to see guys that want to play and they want to stay on that field. I'll be honest with you. I might be taking a bit of a getting ahead of myself kind of argument here, but if we don't win tomorrow, A, we're not making the playoffs. B, I don't think Biello's got a job anymore. And not to say he's not going to be our coach until the end of the season. I'm sure he will be because there's only a handful of games left. But I don't honestly believe that we're going to pull out any points against Orlando, and then I think we have the Revolution after that, correct?
And then TFC.
And then TFC. So our schedule is not handing Biello any candy, to be honest here. So I'm going to go out on the limb and say that tomorrow is a job on the line kind of game for Biello.
For sure.
And I
Don't go
hate
that far.
I hate to say that, though. I hate to say that because how many coaches have I seen come in and out of this revolving door of the Montreal Impact? Anyway, that's a good topic for another week.
Yes.
We're all exhausted. Alexi, you wanted the last call on this?
Oh, no, really.
No?
I think,
Can we just do one more thing?
Yeah, go ahead.
We all sound terribly pessimistic.
Yes, we
We
do.
all sound incredibly negative.
Yeah.
If Drogba comes back to form,
Wow.
if the team shows some sort of effort,
No.
if the back line somehow miraculously comes together,
What?
the impact will win. But if ifs and buts were candy and nuts, the impact would be in first place, and we wouldn't be having this conversation. And
on that note,
we're not winning tomorrow, so let's just move on.
Honestly, I look forward to seeing a win tomorrow like I do every week, like I do every weekend, like I do every Wednesday night when we play. But I'll be honest to God, I have become a cynical, grumpy old man about this team after such a great start to the season. I'm going to thank everybody here today on the podcast. So we got Alexi, Javier, Noah, Ronnie. Thank you very much for being around this week. We'll hope to see you all tomorrow at the game. Keep in mind, there's always some early events going on with the supporters groups. Keep a look on them on Facebook. Make sure you follow them. And follow Mount Royal Soccer on SB Nation. And follow up on our articles that are going to be popping up after the game for sure. And we'll see you next week. So
yeah,
can I
and
get
thank
a
you
moment?
as well, Matt. Thank
No
you, Matt, as
problem,
well.
guys.
Awesome.
Have a good
Thank
week,
you, guys.
everyone.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
You're going.